Recording?
Mhm.
Hi, I'm Midori Verity. I am the relationship illuminator for Zelux Life. And today I have Susan Bratton here from this. She's a CEO of Personal Life Media. Which is a publishing company focusing on passionate love making. So she has a lot to share with us today, and you definitely want to hear everything. But she's also the author of several books. A few of the names are Revive Her Drive, Relationship Magic, and 30 Romance Tricks That Work Like Magic. When I was thinking for my book that I have coming out, Secrets to a Kick-Ass Marriage,
Woo.
there is a chapter on passion and reviving that and making it the most exquisite part of your relationship. And Susan was the gal that I thought of. She has been around for a long time, and she is the guru on the subject. So I feel very fortunate to have her with us. So welcome.
Midori, thank you so much for asking me. I was thrilled when you called me and said, "Hey, would you like to talk about passionate marriage and how you can get the spark back?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, that's my favorite subject." I've studied it a lot, so I know a lot about it. I'm really confident that I can help couples. I've got thousands, literally thousands of testimonials from people I've helped over the years rekindle that spark. And there's nothing better than those emails that come in pretty much every day from somebody saying, everything from we're having the best fun of our life and we've been married for 30 years to my wife finally took her nightie off when we made love and we've been married for 30 years or 25 years. Or, I'd always hoped that I could get the passion back when my kids went off to school. Or, after kids, after we had our babies, our sex life went down and we didn't know what to do, and I'm so glad I found you. It's just a natural thing. But a lot of people believe that it's just the way it is that your sex life and your intimacy and your connection and your zest for each other has to, kind of slowly erode. And in fact, I'm here to tell you that it's just the opposite, that your connection with your partner can just keep getting more rewarding and better and better and better if you know a couple simple things. It literally is it's an attitude, a mindset, a belief, and just a couple of simple things that are communication skills and understanding. And so I'm going to tell you as much as I possibly can today about what it is that I tell couples who want to get that passion back, who have had success and have done so following these simple steps.
Perfect. That's why you're here. We
Yeah.
want to just rekindle everything and make that passion explode. And so let's start. Let's hear about it.
And I think it can actually be even better than when you were newlyweds. I think when you're newlyweds, you don't even know each other yet. And you've got that new relationship energy, but that does wear off. That's chemicals. But you can get those chemicals pumping again, the oxytocin and the dopamine. You can get that stuff going again. And because you've been together and you've been through things together, it can actually make your marriage relationship even better than when you first got together.
Well, that's good news for those of us who have been married for a while.
Yeah.
Sometimes things kind of get lost somewhere. And so it's good to know that that can all be rekindled and even better than before.
Yeah.
So tell us, what do you think happens with couples? Why do they lose that spark? What happens? And how do they fix it?
So life gets in the way.
Mhm.
And for some couples who are easily triggered by each other, couples who run into a lot of problems, even outside their marriage, difficulties with work or paying the bills, or even just, having kids and having to put your attention on raising your children. All of those things contribute to the fact that you don't take time to romance each other anymore. And for a lot of people, there are a lot of people who have health issues, whether those are physical or emotional. They're all the same. If you're depressed, it's no different than having cancer. You've got to deal with it. And one of the things that happens with desire is your life force. It's your vitality, it's your zest, it's your lust. Those are just the same words, different words for the same thing. And what happens when you're in pain is that pain covers desire. It pushes down your desire. When your libido drops, it comes from rustiness, lack of use, certainly, but that lack of use comes from the other things that are contributing to taking your mind away from putting your attention on each other, or learning how to co-regulate each other, how to soothe each other, how to make each other feel loved. Those things start to go away. You're like living in a parallel universe. You're in the land of Platonia. You know, you're not you're doing parallel play like 2-year-olds instead of playing together like, you know, like children can. And so it's getting that back together, bringing yourselves back together. So whatever's happened to you, because hey, no one is immune from the cycles and rhythms and the up and down of life. No matter how great my life looks or your life looks, we've had our trials and we'll have some more. We've been up, we've been down. We all go through it. The one thing that determines long-term success in relationships is the belief that it's a journey, not a destination, that you just keep on going, that you know, Julie Andrews, she just lost her husband of 42 years, Blake Edwards, and she said, we just took it a day at a time, and that's how we stayed together. And it's very, very true. But during that day, if you understand the 4 elements of revival, what it takes to rekindle that passion when you have been too busy to keep your attention on it, but you want to get it back, once you understand what they are, you can put those steps in place so that you have the ability to rekindle the passion, and it's available to everyone.
Okay, well, I want you to tell us a little bit more about the elements of revival. What is it exactly? We need to know.
So I have talked to, I don't know how many experts. I have probably read 200 books about passionate marriage. I've studied the work of all the psychologists and psychiatrists. I've talked to information product experts and gurus. And when I listen to them, they all say the same thing in different ways, that there are really 4 things. And so I just called them the 4 elements of revival. I could have called them the 4 keys to resparking your relationship, or the 4 things you got to do to get hot sex going again in your marriage, whatever you want to call it. And the 4 elements are, number 1 is overcoming resistance issues. Number 2 is something I call polarity, or the masculine, feminine, the animal magnetism that comes from the fact that men and women, or the masculine, feminine, are different and yet really evocative to each other, that magnetic pull of opposites. The third is understanding how to seduce a partner that you've been married to for 100 years. Like, how do you keep it alive? How do you keep moving your partner toward more pleasure, which is what seduction is. Seduction isn't, I'm going to manipulate them into having sex with me. Seduction is moving your partner toward pleasure. And I'll tell you the best secret I've ever had for making that very easy that works. Oh. Number 4 is advanced sexual mastery. There are some things, and when I tell them to you, you'll say to yourself, oh, God, yeah, that makes sense, and I never really thought about it that way. Like, none of this stuff that I'm going to tell you today is difficult. It's just understanding how to do it and do it in the right order so that it works well for you. And the little techniques that I've learned that make it very easy for partners to learn how to overcome resistance, to generate that polarity again in their relationship, to learn seduction skills that move you toward pleasure as a couple, and some advanced sexual mastery techniques and communication skills that make your lovemaking hot again. So it's those 4 things.
Okay, well, can we go into some detail on that?
Absolutely.
Especially that little open loop that you left there. That one.
All right, so let's start with overcoming resistance, because that's where you always start. So the first thing to understand is, if you're not feeling the passion, what is it that's preventing you? Is it that she's a workaholic, or he's a workaholic, or that the kids require... I mean, it was funny. I was just talking to my niece is so adorable, and she and her husband are working on possibly having him do a job change. And they feel like they have 2 kids, and they feel like they can never get away from their kids. Like, they love them, but they crept downstairs to their basement to have a private conversation the kids couldn't hear, because they don't want the kids to think worry about moving and things like that if he gets a different job. And they're downstairs and they're just starting to kind of like, all right, what are we going to do? And the basement door opens. Mommy, can I come down and play with my Legos with you guys? And they're like, no.
We've all been there. Usually it's the bathroom door.
Right, you sneak into your bathroom, exactly. And so everybody who has children is like, oh, God, yes. So what's the resistance to having sex? Are you exhausted? Do you not feel well? Are your kids constantly underfoot? Are you working so much you don't have any bandwidth left? Do you have issues, health issue? Like, what is it? For some couples, it's my wife gained 200 pounds since we got married, or my husband has been in a severe depression for years, and I want him to make love to me and he can't get an erection. I mean, you have to deal with what is. You have to look at your life and say, hey, if we're going to do this, we have to fix some of those problems or remove those obstacles. Here's a big one. Sexual shame. Religious shame, growing up in a family where there was no touch, you never talked about sex, literally ignorance, lack of education. Like, I was a virgin when I got married and I've only done missionary position and I can't imagine doing more and I don't like to take off my nightgown and please leave the lights off. Like, this is the reality for many, many couples, and there's absolutely nothing wrong with that happening. This is the situation we're in. So, like, how do we get you to love your body? How do we get you to manage your work so you carve out some time? How do we get a sitter for the kids? How do we get you to the point where we understand what's creating this depression so we can move through it together as a couple and get back on track? So, overcoming resistance and always remembering that an emotionally well-connected couple learns how to do what is called co-regulation. And that means that you support each other in calming each other's nervous systems down. Because you can't really open yourself sexually to each other until you're able to just let go and relax. Like, it's the only sex that you can do when you're not relaxed is probably a quickie. And I am not a proponent of quickies because they don't give the woman enough time to get fully engorged and turned on, to get her erectile tissue, full of blood. In a man's penis, there's all this erectile tissue. Well, there's the same amount of tissue up inside a woman. And it has to be stroked and stimulated slowly so that she gets turned on before she wants to have sex. That's tough to do in a quickie unless you've gotten like verbally really turned on beforehand, or you've got that new relationship energy that's getting you going. But 20 years later, the hop on, hop off, not a great idea in general unless you're having a lot of sex and you're already turned on. So co-regulation is where you look in each other's eyes. You actually aren't busy doing other things, sitting in the same room, ignoring each other. You look in your partner's eyes. You hug your partner. You hold each other. You cuddle. You spoon. You sit on your husband's lap. You hold each other on the sofa when you're watching a movie, when you're, mainlining Netflix. That generates oxytocin and starts to increase that bond again. So it's really about, what is it that's the roadblock between you and making love again together? And how do you together support each other in removing it or minimizing it to the point where you can move forward? So that's number one. And that takes some discussion and communication and compassion and empathy with your partner. So being mad at them because they won't have sex with you or they don't hug you enough or whatever isn't going to get you anywhere. You got to get underneath what it is that's suppressing that desire. What's holding down your libido and keeping you from wanting your lover, right? So that's number one.
Okay, well, gosh, that was great.
Oh, good.
It touched on so many different issues. I mean, so many that you just said. I'm like, oh, I know people in that situation, in all those
Yeah.
situations, actually.
Yeah.
And when you're in a long-term relationship, it's going to happen.
Mm-hmm.
Something along the way is going to happen. So just being aware of it, I think, will alleviate a lot of it, a lot of the issues.
Lots of things
Lots
are
of
going to
things are going to
happen
happen.
if you're
If you're
married for a
married for
long
a long
time.
time. And that's what we're going for.
Yeah,
We're going for the long term. That's what this is all about.
exactly.
Okay, so
Yeah,
let's
can
go
I say
into,
something about that too?
please.
I can't tell you how many marriages I see go by the wayside because intimacy has gone away, because couples just simply didn't know the four elements of revival. I believe that probably 90% of marriages could be saved if people understood these things. So thank you for asking me.
And I agree with you. When you were talking about, the depression and some of the other issues, I feel as though that's what's so awesome about being with the same partner for so many years. And that's where intimacy goes beyond just the sex part of it.
Yeah.
It can really help people get outside of that work together to get through the depression or whatever the issue is,
Definitely.
health issues. And that's the beauty of long-term relationships.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There, but for the grace of God, go you or I. It can happen to anyone. Nobody asks for depression. Nobody asks for these things to happen to them.
No,
Yeah.
no, but hopefully your partner can help you get through those or at
Yeah.
least deal with it better. So good.
Yeah.
Let's move on to the next one because this is so enlightening already.
Good.
Okay, so we discussed
Overcoming
overcoming
resistance.
resistance. Tell
Yeah.
me about polarity. What do you mean by
Yeah.
that?
So polarity is the masculine feminine. And when we start, we women these days, we have our own careers. We go off to work. We come home. We're living in a man's world in a lot of ways. We're very strong. We're very directed. And it was so funny. I was talking to my daughter. She has a new boyfriend. And I was telling her about how to be feminine and what it is that men like about feminine women. Because she's a kick-ass feminine girl, and she said, "But Mom, how can you tell me I should be focused on being feminine when you're a feminist?" And I was like, "Because I'm a feminine feminist." Because I don't ever think that I can't play full out. I can be as smart as I possibly can. I can be as accomplished as I possibly can. I can be as beautiful and healthy and loving and compassionate and kind and sexy and I can wear pink and I can enjoy every aspect of being an amazing intelligent woman. And so being strong doesn't, or going out and being a warrior in your business doesn't preclude you from also being walking around your house in flirty lingerie and some stripper shoes and seducing your husband. Why can't you have all that? You can. Those things aren't mutually exclusive. They actually work beautifully together. Men love a strong, sexy woman who is not afraid to say that she is sexy. And so I think it's really important to understand that when you are trying to regain polarity in your relationship, that as a woman, when you're in the intimate times with your husband, you are not telling him what to do, you're inviting him to do things. It's just a slightly different mindset. It's putting on the feminine wiles, your seductress, your invitation to pleasure, your calling him out and bringing him to you, and letting him know that he's desired and he's wanted. Because for so many men, they're afraid to ask for sex once it's gone downhill because they sound needy, whiny, begging. The number one thing that women ask me, because I'm very big into women's sexual empowerment, the number one question I get is, how do I get my husband or my boyfriend or my partner to take control in the bedroom? The number one question that guys ask me is, how do I get my partner to initiate sex with me? So look, everybody wants to have sex, like they're all wanting it. So like, why is it that they're like, well, I'm waiting for him to do it, and well, I'm waiting for her to do it. It's like, all right, you guys, let's knock a couple of heads together here, and why don't you guys just go have some sex? You know what I mean? So inviting your man. He needs to know you want him. She needs to know you want her. A woman at a primal level wants two things. Listen up, guys. Two things. She wants to know that you adore her, and she wants to know what exactly you find sexually irresistible about her. So, baby, you're so adorable. I love you so much. You're such a good wife and such a good mother. You're such a darling woman. I just love to see how sweet you are to people. You say that. Then later, you say, baby, your ass drives me crazy. When you walk through the living room and I see those buns a-shaking, I mean, I get a hard on every time, even after all these years. I look at other women and they're pretty, but I don't know what it is about you. You're the one. That body of yours, your hair, I love the smell of you. You know, that's what she wants to hear, right?
Yes.
And
Yes.
he wants to hear, baby, take me. I want you. So that he knows it's okay to proceed. And so having that polarity, that masculine feminine, where you sit on his lap, you shake your booty for him, you let him look at you naked, you put on lingerie or wear a sexy bra, or you call him from the office and say, I'm wearing lacy panties and I'm going to let you look at them right now. I'm going to take a selfie and I'm going to text it to you. Because you're just a dirty little dog, I know you are. Whatever, like everybody has their own personality. I'm just giving you some, like little silly things. Oh my God, your husband would love if you did that for him. So it's that kind of thing where you're just getting into that like playfulness of that masculine feminine. That's very, very important. And for the guy, how does he lead her in the bedroom? He has to have a game plan. He has to tell her she's sexy. He has to use his low voice, baby, oh yeah, like that. We loved it. Didn't it give you like a little bit of goosebumps even when I did it?
It's all the same.
Stop. All right, keep going.
Let's expand on this part.
Let's just keep going here. Let's just stay. So, he really, he needs to move her body in the bedroom. He needs to pick her body up and put it down or move her legs. He needs to have her sit on his lap. He needs to tell her to let go and just surrender. He needs to describe how he can see her getting turned on. He needs to say, I've got everything handled. The kids are gone. The room is warm. This is your favorite sexy Barry White music or whatever you listen to that gets you turned on. More Chiba, blah, 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 He's got the lover space created, so all she has to do is show up and relax. He's giving her a foot rub, which is the female equivalent of a blowjob. I swear it is.
And I've never thought of it that way, but yes, now that you mention that, yes.
It is because your foot, the way where in your brain your clitoris sensation is processed is right next to where your foot rub sensation is processed. It brings you that much pleasure. Yeah. I think it's a hormonal thing of some kind where at certain times of the month especially, our feet just ache a little bit. Have you ever noticed that?
Yes.
Yeah. I have no scientific proof for this, but from all of my consensus, I've seen this. And so he has to have the kind of plan so she doesn't have to think, oh, well, there's a little lull, or, oh, my arousal is dropping. Now I'm starting to like worry, am I really going to be able to have an orgasm? Like he has to be good enough with his techniques, which is like, well, how can you get good enough if she never sleeps with me? How am I supposed to get, enough knowledge? You study, you read, you prepare. You are prepared for the moment when she relaxes, and then you give her tons of orgasms. And then she's like, oh, well, that asshole actually does know what to do, Yeah. All right, well, maybe I can trust him with my yoni once again. He didn't do half bad, like, it's a high bar, us women with our turn on, Like, we don't want to go all getting turned on and then you not be able to get us off, So that's another piece of it on the polarity is that from a woman's perspective, you need to put some energy into having some arousal and turn on. You need to find your turn on for your husband. And that could be you telling him or asking him or giving him some ideas about how to turn you on. Oh, baby, I really like it when you pin my arms back on the bed like this and you get on top of me and you kiss me. I really like to be held down or whatever your thing is.
Right.
And so giving him like, oh, here's a couple things that I would enjoy that you could spring on me during our lovemaking. And then he's like, thank God she gave me some answers to the quiz. I'm going to do those. But then he'll just keep doing those three things. So you got to keep giving him some more. So that's polarity. That's having fun and feeling playful and doing the masculine feminine and teaching him what will turn you on so that he wins. And when he wins, rewarding him. Oh my God, you did exactly what I wanted, and I loved how you did it to me. Awesome, baby, you did such a great job. Men love to serve the goddess. They love to give you exactly what you want, but you have to tell them. And then when they do it, you must acknowledge them, or they will feel so taken advantage of and not respected and not appreciated. So that appreciation, that gratitude, which we women are really good at anyway, you got to make sure to give a lot of that to your husband. That will just start that fire going. You would be amazed.
And having fun together is what it's all about, right?
That's what
Because then you
women
want
like.
more no matter what. So,
Women love an erotic adventure. Think about it that way, guys. An erotic adventure.
that's why 50 Shades is so
Right.
popular.
Yeah, because he's taking control. He has a plan. She's going to go for the ride. She has decided to take his ride. Now, that might not be the ride you want to go on, but you want to go on a ride. So once you understand what the ride is you'd like to have and you explain that to your husband, give him 3 or 4 possible ride ideas, and then let him take you. And just give him minute course corrections as he goes, but make sure he knows every time he did something right.
That's a mental note that I think we all should keep. Good. Okay, great. Let's go to seduction.
Okay. So the guys are always like, "Rah, rah, 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 rah. Yeah, seduction, let's go." And I'm like, hold your horses, bucko. Because seduction starts with romance. Here's the way it works. Think about it as a stair-stepping, an escalation. It's called erotic escalation. You guys used to think about it as foreplay. That's kind of like an old-timey word that nobody quite understood what it meant. Like, well, I think I'm supposed to do foreplay for 20 minutes, but I don't actually know what that is. Is that oral sex? And you're like, no, actually, that's sex. That's not foreplay. So, so here's what women like. There are 5 different kinds of romance that get women on your page as a man. The first is what I would call mindfulness. You could call it presence. You could call it putting your attention on her. You could call it put down your phone and turn off your computer and be with her and have fun. Whatever that means for you, it's just being there with her and seeing life through her eyes. That's very, very important. Once you kind of drop into being with your wife and just really putting your attention on her and going back to that kind of playful, youthful time when you were just completely in your bubble, she's going to want to have sex with you. Likely you'll never even have to do 2, 3, 4, and 5. But that's number 1. Number 1 is slowing down and just being present with her. Number 2, using your senses. So again, going back to the idea that you can calm each other's nervous systems down. You can hold her in your arms. You can give her hugs until she completely melts and relaxes in your arms, and you just hold her. And men love to hold women. Women love to be held by men. It's just a very primal thing. And if you just take the time to do that, she'll start melting in your arms and she'll calm down and her defenses will go down and she'll feel your attention and she'll begin to want you again. Looking her in the eyes, I mentioned it earlier, but eye gazing, some people are eye shy. And if you're mad at your partner, you don't want to really look at them. But once you start to look at them, they can't be mad at you for much longer because they begin to see you. The windows are the eyes, the eyes are windows to the soul.
So,
And so that is soulful. That's that soulful connection of love making. That's how you get to the kind of love making that's not just hot sex, but is intimate rapture, where you're just playing off each other, you're feeling each other, and you're in this conjoined trance state of bliss, and you can't even count the orgasms you're having, and you're just completely rebooted and refreshed because you've let the world go and you've fallen in with each other. And that those sensations, stroking her skin, that wakes up all these proprioceptors. This is your sensual grid, you know. Run your hands all the way down her body, up and down her body. Stroke her hair, stroke her cheek, kiss her eyelids, kiss her neck. You know, touch her breasts but not her nipples. You know, don't go for ground zero for a long, long time until she's like really reaching for you. Sensation is lovership. The next one is this playful adventure, thinking up fun things to do. The classics are the classics for a reason. Take her out on a walk in nature. That's my number one piece of advice. Get outside together, go for a walk, hold her hand, stop and give her a hug, give her a kiss, look in her eyes. She'll be completely relaxed and ready to make love, most likely just after the walk. It's the idea of moving her body. You know how you train a horse? I don't know if you've ever ridden a horse. Have you, Midori?
I've fallen off of many.
Well, then you know. So then you're aware that when you're teaching a horse something, like let's just say the horse won't go where you want him to go. What do? You walk the horse around in a circle. You move the horse's feet, and then he pays attention to you. It's how do you get someone to pay attention? You move them. How does the art of persuasion work? You're moving their emotions. It's about creating movement. When you're moved by a movie, it sticks with you. Everything comes down to being able to move your partner. And so playful adventures that move her. My husband and I just went to the wine country. We got a new car. And we like a convertible. So we've had our last convertible for 15 years. So we just bought a new convertible. And we went to the wine country, and we were on this lonesome road that was just absolutely gorgeous. We had the top down. And I'm like, punch it, go! Woo! You know, we're doing all this stuff. What was he doing? Why was that so romantic? He was moving me, you know?
Yes.
All he was doing was driving a car. But it was great. And we had such a romantic evening that night. I mean, like, it was one of those days and evenings to remember because he moved me.
Right.
So, playful adventures, spontaneity. You know, I was leaving my house, and I saw my neighbors. They were walking together. And they both just looked really nice that day. I was like, wow, what are you guys doing today? You guys look gorgeous today. Are you taking her out for some romantic lunch or something? And she goes, I hope so. And he's like, no, we were just going to stay home. And I'm like, dude, you totally blew it. Her face lit up at the thought of a romantic lunch. And the fact that he was like, oh, no, we're just, I want to just hit it, you know, like, oh, you totally blew it, dude. You know, so taking her on a surprise like that can be really, really sweet. So, number 4, erotic communication. Women need to be adored and found sexually irresistible. Give her very specific things. And this is an all day long kind of a thing, you know. Text her, send her an email, take a picture and snap it, write her a poem, sing her a love song, make her a playlist, talk sexy to her, talk dirty to her. Just keep it going, guys. I know that you guys are men of few words. I totally understand that. But the 3 that you have, say them. Because we really need to hear that we're awesome and that you love the shit out of us. So that's very important. And then this is a funny one, and most men will be really surprised by this, and most women will be like, exactly, yeah. And that is what I call declarations. And declarations are symbols of your love, rituals of your love, like framing your marriage certificate, bringing her flowers, anything that's like a visual proof or a written proof, a tangible proof. The wedding ring, a piece of jewelry. My husband, here's what he does for me. You're going to be so jealous, Midori. You're going to be like, oh, I'm going to do this now. He takes me shopping, Now, I could perfectly well go to Nordstrom's myself and slap down my credit card and buy my thing that I need, right? But sometimes I like it on a Saturday when my husband drives me to the mall and he takes me to Nordstrom and he sits in the sitting room or the trying on room, the fitting room with me, and I try stuff on and he tells me what he likes and he pays for it. We have a joint account. And it's not like he's actually buying it for, like we put all our money in one thing. But he pays, he carries the bag, and then he usually takes me out to lunch and we have a beer, and then he drives me home. Oh my God, do I love that. I just love it when my husband takes me shopping. He buys me something. And then later, when someone's like, oh, that's such a pretty outfit, I say, thank you, my husband bought it for me. And see how it's like the masculine, feminine? It's just, you're taken care of.
Yes, I love that.
It's super sweet for us. And a dude would be like, really? That's what you want me to do? Like, you don't want to just go to the mall and can't you just get that thing on the internet? Doesn't Amazon Prime deliver that?
Yes, but
But it's so much more fun when you take me. Yeah.
yeah,
So that is a very, very important piece of the declaration, which is, you, my woman, I'm your man, and this proves it. Like, we want that. We want to
we
be,
do.
we want to be your woman. And it's very, very important to us. Same side of things for men is he wants you to keep yourself up. He wants you to feel sexy. He wants you to do anything and everything that it takes for you to feel like the goddess that you are, so that when he makes love to you, you're not disempowering yourself by talking about your cellulite or you don't like your boobs or blah, blah, blah. He loves the way you look. Zip,
Yes.
zip it. You know what I mean? Like, let all that go. You're married to him. He loves you. He picked you. Enjoy.
Good point. And I have a lot of clients who get stuck there. Over the years they might feel like their body it changes, it does change.
Every day.
But your husband or your spouse or your boyfriend or whoever it is, they know what you look like.
Yeah.
But if you take the time to put on a little negligee or something a little sexy, oh my God, that changes everything. And they so appreciate it. And so I do, that's an important thing, I think,
It's a
for us
gift.
all to remember.
Yeah. It's a gift you give to your husband is your self-love.
Yes.
So now you move into the seduction piece of it. And I remember in the beginning I told you I'm going to give you this one little thing that's going to like rock your world with regard to seduction.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of seduction techniques that we teach here at Personal Life Media, and the one that I think that's the most important comes from a program that is called the Seduction Trilogy. Dr. Patty Taylor wrote it for me because I think she's the foremost in understanding how people who have been married forever can still bring each other more pleasure. And the very, very simple, obviously there's a lot you can do with this, but the most simple thing is to understand that seduction is running your partner a menu of very small offers. Let me unpack that for you. When you give someone would you rather me give you one option or three?
3.
Multiple choice is always better, right?
Yes.
Especially we women who love to shop. We want to have lots of choice. Dudes, 3 choices is plenty. Women, we could probably handle more choices. But when your guy says to you, would you like a foot rub? Or would you like me to draw you a bath? Or would you like to sit down on the couch and tell me about your day? You're like, well, let's see. Could I have them all? And here's the order, right? Instead of, hey, do you want to have sex? Right? Do you want to have sex tonight? You're like, absolutely do not want to have sex. Hadn't even been thinking about it. Don't care to do it. And it's a no. Like this is why guys get the no's they get, is because they start with the big offer instead of the small offer. So you start with small offers and you give your woman a menu of them. You can do this with men as well. Would you like me to put on some negligee? Would you like a back rub? Or would you like to take a shower together? Or go in the hot tub together and have a beer or whatever. He's going to say, okay, I'd like them all in this order, right? But it's good to start out very small with women because we take a while to get turned on. So giving her menus, running her menus, and teaching your guy what kind of menus you like is also helpful. But it's best if he just really pays attention to where you are. He's kind of like vigilant about what's happening in your world. He's paying attention to you, and he's mindful, and he's like, oh, okay, she kind of looks stressed out. Maybe I'll offer her like a neck rub, a foot rub, or a glass of white wine.
Uh-huh. That's just a good place to start.
Once again, you're like, I'll take all three. That's the beauty of small offers. They're really easy to say yes to. And then she starts saying yes to you instead of no to you. And then you just escalate from there and make it a slightly sexier offer and a slightly sexier offer. And voila, that is seduction. That's the kind of seduction that works.
I love that.
I know. Super
That
great.
is
Yeah.
things that we think, but I don't really know how to say it, and I didn't really realize it, and
Yeah.
you just said it all.
Yeah.
Okay,
Yay.
great.
Thank you.
All right, so those are the 4 elements
Well, actually,
of
that was the
survival.
different kinds of romance and how to seduce your partner. So, yeah, that was the 4 elements. But really, we have one left. So the
Okay,
first
the
one
big
was,
one.
yeah, the first one was
Yes.
overcoming resistance. The second one was polarity. The third one was seduction. But you can't start with seduction. You have to start with romance. So I was telling you about the things you do to kind of work your way up to seduction, and the seduction is running her small offers. Would you like? You can, once you get into sex, you can even say like, okay, well, would you like to, do 69? Would you like me to give you an erotic massage? Would you like me to, would you like to have a makeout first? What are you in the mood to do? You can run her a menu that way too. So that you can just keep escalating those. So that's seduction. So it's overcoming resistance, polarity, seduction, and now advanced sexual mastery techniques. Like you actually have to deliver the goods, which is orgasms, to get her to want to keep having sex with you.
Right. Okay, so let's go there.
Okay.
How do we accomplish that?
All right. So the first thing that I would say to women is orgasmic cross training. That means that you probably have, if you are able to have an orgasm, you probably have a way to get there, a certain way you like to have an orgasm. If you haven't yet had an orgasm, you can have one. And it is very, very possible. And your partner can be the person who helps you achieve that when you work together instead of being frustrated about it. So I don't think we should go into how to have your first orgasm. Let's assume that you have had one, and that it's probably pretty good. But I'm guessing, because I talk to a lot of women, that it's good but not fantastic. You're not like rocking the world every single time. Maybe some days it's quite a bit of effort to squeeze one out. That kind of thing. And the shame is that what's really good for your husband is for you to be able to have an orgasm through intercourse, because for him and for most guys, unless there's like birth control issues where you're really like afraid to have a lot of intercourse for whatever reason, you're afraid to conceive or what have you, or those other reasons. Having an orgasm through intercourse is a super nice thing because you're connected in your bodies. He's inside you. Maybe you're kissing, and you're really creating that energetic cycle. And so, if you can't orgasm through intercourse, it's a bummer, because now you feel like you might as well be a masturbatory sock for your husband. Like he's getting off inside you, but you're not really getting off, and that sucks. You kind of feel like a failure. You feel like, well, everybody else is having orgasms for sex and I'm not. But hardly anybody is, especially not when they're younger, or maybe not with their husband, but they did with some other guy, which is also, it breaks your heart. You're like, oh God, I wish I could come from my husband and I can't, and I don't really like to have intercourse that much because I just kind of feel like I'm used, or like something's still left on the table. It's like, it's disappointing. And so orgasmic cross training, if you can have an orgasm through a certain way, like maybe you can have an orgasm from putting a vibrator on your clitoris. You can begin, and I have a whole session on this with Sherry Winston, who's one of my sex coaches who works with us. We did a video on how orgasmic cross training works, and it's super interesting. But the way that you do it is you essentially, you start with what works, and then you start adding it in to what else you're doing, and pretty soon you're having an orgasm that you're doing through penetration. That's one thing. The other thing is understanding engorgement. Remember in the beginning when I talked about how there's all that erectile tissue that has to be gotten erect in a woman. Well, guys, they tend to rush it. They tend to go in too early, and she's not going to have an orgasm because she's not fully engorged. She's not ready. They think about it as wet. That's what guys think. If she's wet, she's ready. When in fact, those things are, only partially connected. That's not the signal that she's actually ready to have an orgasm from intercourse. And so, if you want to have really great sex for the rest of your life with your partner, giving her lots of orgasms in lots of ways is the way to go. But she, as the woman, has to be willing to try to have them. She has to be willing to, begin as a beginner, to allow you to stumble a little bit, to try different techniques, to tell you what's turning her on and what's turning her off, what's bringing her arousal up and what's suppressing her arousal or taking her down. She has to know that you have enough moves and techniques that you're going to be able to go, okay, well, that didn't work. Let's try this one. Like you've got this Swiss Army knife of orgasm skills. And that comes from being prepared. That comes from knowledge, understanding women's anatomy, educating yourself, getting online home study courses like we make, and just really learning how to give a clitoral orgasm, how to give a vaginal orgasm, where's the P spot, the A spot, the B spot, the D spot, like there's all these, essentially just doing a map of your wife's whole vulva, and also remembering that she can have nipple-gasms and she can have orgasms from giving you oral sex. Oh yes, she can. There's erectile tissue in here that gets her off. So women can be lying in bed having orgasms before you even hit the mattress, in all honesty, because they can do it from here. And so it's getting an expanded repertoire of orgasmic abilities and doing this together, learning this together. And we have something we call the sandbox date. And that's essentially a lovemaking date where instead of it being a goal of having lovemaking, you're actually doing the goal of learning something new. We teach these erotic play dates, these erotic sandbox dates that, they're just like, okay, well, today we're going to try to do the intercourse from orgasm. Today we're going to try to do a perineal orgasm. Today we're going to try to do like whatever. And that can really take the pressure off and expand her ability to orgasm and your ability to give her those orgasms. So she's going to want more and more sex the more and more pleasure you give her. It's getting her to feel comfortable enough to not feel like she already has to do it, and to feel like she trusts you enough to just say, stop, I don't want to do it anymore. I need to take a break. And then celebrating the successes that you do have. But really just communication techniques that allow her to say, go higher, go lower, and your ego doesn't get hurt. That's really important for a woman, is to say, look, I need to be able to say anything. And if I have to stop and use my manners while you're trying to give me an orgasm because I'm worried that I'm going to hurt your feelings, let's just begin as beginners here. Let's just do this together. And your ego's not going to get hurt because I'm doing the best I can and you're doing the best you can. But let's keep chasing the dream, together. And once he lets down his egoic guard and she lets down her, well, he's not going to know what to do and it's not going to work, and all right, I'm going to just try. I'm going to do my best to get really turned on, and I'm going to really love the shit out of my husband, and, we'll see how it goes. It makes a big difference, especially when he's putting his attention on her like that, and his goal is to give her pleasure, and she's like, oh, look at him. He really wants me to feel good. Okay, I'm going to step it up, and I'm going to do my best to be right there for him. Once you have that kind of a, connection together, it can be really sweet and fun, and you will see. I can remember sometimes with Tim where we would be like, dude, that's the best sex we've ever had in our life. And then the next day we'd be like, oh my God, that's the best sex we've ever had in our life. And then the next day we'd be like, whoa, I didn't think it could get any better, and it just did. The thing about that is that could be your sex life for the rest of your life. It literally is infinite. The pleasure is you just get better and better together, like you do in all the other things you do if you're working together as a team. So having that in mind, that it's a journey, not a destination, again, goes back to creating that, intimacy and connection and trust and love and fun that makes that passion keep building on itself.
And Susan, tell our audience how long you and Tim have been together.
23 years.
23 years.
And we almost got divorced because we didn't have these skills. And we saw all of our friends getting divorced. And we went out and we got some skills. And we've been building on our skills ever since.
You know what? That's a great message for everyone to realize, is that look at you now.
Right, exactly.
And so there is light at the end of the tunnel for those who are feeling very frustrated and disconnected, just like we started. So good to know that you found the way, and we hope all of our guests get there as well.
Yeah, sometimes that anger, that impatience, that agitation, that pissiness, that's turn on. That's desire. That's like, you need to have some orgasms. That will make you feel a lot less pissed. In addition to rebooting your nervous system and building oxytocin and bringing you closer together and feeling more safe and protected with your husband, a lot of times the anger is actually just turn on. An unfulfilled desire. Because you have desire in there. We all do. We're human. We are brimming energy vessels of desire and want. Sometimes we want monoloblonic shoes. And sometimes we want to get cummed really well. And sometimes we want to get cummed really well in our monoloblonic shoes.
That's the best of all worlds, right? It always helps to have those shoes.
Oh, God, yes. I actually have an ebook called I swear to God, I have an ebook that is, I think I give it away for free on my website. It's called How to Get Your Wife to Want to Have Sex as Much as She Loves Buying New Shoes. Every time I look at that ebook, I'm like, I am so glad I wrote that.
That's all everyone probably needs to have. That's
Remember
awesome.
the foot rub, boys. Remember the foot rub.
The foot rub. Now I understand why I love it so much. And it makes it so much easier to go to the next step.
Yeah.
Just from that.
Yeah.
Just from that.
Yeah. It's the opposite. Men want you to start with their penis. Women want you to start on the outside. Sherry calls this zone theories. 3, 2, 1. You got to work from the outside in. That's why you never touch a woman's nipples before you've stroked her whole body. That's why you never go for her yoni before you've loved her up. Where a guy, when you start making love with him, he would really like you to do all those other fun things while you have your hand on his dick.
Right. Right.
Start there and then use your other hand and do all the other stuff. They just really love to have their penises appreciated and touched and fondled, and that's good. They do that to themselves all the time, so they would like to get a break.
We're so helpful.
Yeah. And women are afraid, like, oh, well, if I touch his penis, he's going to think I'm going to have sex with him. So you have to say to him, I don't know if I'm going to have sex with you. I'm not turned on, but I would love to play with your dick while we watch Netflix, And he'd be like, all right, go ahead.
They're always game,
Definitely.
I feel, from my experience.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Yes, it doesn't have to mean anything.
No, this has been fantastic. And I understand things more.
Yay.
And I can't wait to go share this with my husband so that he can share it with me.
Yeah.
And make it a win-win.
Yeah, your husband training program.
That's right.
Yeah, they just want to know what to do to make you happy.
They do.
Yeah.
It's so true.
Yeah.
It's so true. And so it can be a win-win.
Men love intimacy. They love it as much as we do. They do. They pine for it.
And I think so often people don't know, whether it's a man or a woman, they don't know how to get there. Maybe they haven't talked in so long.
Yeah.
And so just having these tools in their pocket can make it happen. So thank you. This has been
pleasure,
fantastic. Anything else that we should share with our audience before we go?
Just my website URL, which is personallifemedia.com. You can get that, how to get my woman to love having sex with me more than buying shoes ebook, as well as lots of More Sex More Often, which teaches about small offers. We give a lot of great information away. And happy to have anybody in the fold who would like to be a part of the Personal Life Media family members.
Perfect. And I do know there's a wealth of information there as well. So
Thank you.
I encourage everyone to go visit her website. What was it again?
Personal Life Media, all strung together. So there's 2 L's in the middle. Personallifemedia.com.
Okay.
Or you can just Google my name and you'll find it. Susan Bratton.
Okay. Susan Bratton with 2 T's.
2 T's. The Brattons weighed a ton. Not really.
Thank you so much,
Thanks,
Susan.
Midori. A pleasure.